morning, James Metropole, and welcome to the High Performance Podcast radio show this morning. I am joined by our wonderful Mr. Clark, who will be speaking a little bit later about all things strength and conditioning. But before we start, I'd like to give a huge update on where we are with regards to trials and the launch of the Mustangs program. You will have seen that yesterday on Instagram there was an amazing reel that was put out showing you just how busy school was. With over 200 children in attendance yesterday morning, it was a fantastic sight to behold at school, 6:45 in the morning, school absolutely buzzing. And it's been the same again this morning with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, conditioning, handball, football, tennis, and a variety of other sports due to take place this afternoon as well. So we are well into the swing of the things with secondary squads. Primary squads will start not next week, but the week after, because we need to give our secondary squads time to settle. And we also need to finish off our primary trials as well. So a huge congratulations to those students that have made the teams. If you haven't made the teams this year, just remember that it's not the end of the world. We will keep assessing you in PE, and you need to make sure that you are going to all of those training sessions that you can do in your external clubs to try and get yourselves into the Mustangs, okay? DASA competition starts next week. So all of our leagues start for our senior football teams, boys and girls, and our senior basketball teams for boys and girls as well. So we're super excited to see our boys and girls take to the court. You're very happy to know as well that Miss Saffield's Mustang Knights, the cheerleading team, they have started their practices as well, and I'm sure there's going to be some amazing halftime shows as well that they'll put on for some of those home basketball games. So plenty to be happy about and excited about, and obviously we're moving on into the final phase of our trials this week with some secondary athletics, jumping and throwing, primary cross country, and a variety of other trials taking place as well. So we are really wanting to make sure that we wrap this up as soon as possible and that we're able to move on. This evening as well is the Mustang Open evening for all of those students that have signed up. It's a sign-up only event. Please do not attend unless you have been asked to attend. And that's where the high performance team are going to give some feedback and information to all our parents about what we achieved last year, where we're going this year, and some of the key changes and updates to the Mustang provision that we are going to be offering. So super excited. See you guys there tonight at 6 p.m. So, Mr. Clark, welcome. Obviously, usually, sir, it's you doing the interviewing, but we've switched roles, eh?
Yeah, it's nice to come back. I see that Peter's got a few upgrades in here. The cameras are now working, and
yeah, you look great.
They got rid of myself and Mr. Matt and give you an upgrade.
I know, they just they were for show last year, the cameras, sir, weren't they?
They didn't work. There wasn't a battery in them, but it's good to see them working this year. It's good to be back.
Peter's just laughing in the background there. He's chuckling away. So, Mr. Clark, obviously we're a few years in now to the strength and conditioning program, and why don't you tell everyone, because we might have some new listeners out there, some new parents, some new children, what your role is exactly and what you do.
Yeah. So in my role, I have the title of Head of Strength and Conditioning within Metropole, and it's a really interesting role for myself to work alongside Mr. Mant, the nutritionist, yourself as Director of Sport, and then Mr. Jackson as Head of High Performance. What I do is I oversee all of the strength and conditioning within all of our Mustang squads somehow. I know that there's a lot of our squads and there's a lot of athletes, so it's really busy. I design programs to help every single athlete develop as an athletic human being, focusing on then certain aspects of that sport.
Cool. And so for our GCSE students out there, GCP and BTEC sports students out there, what are the 4 components of fitness that we prioritise at Metropole based on, and what research is it based on? Why are we doing that? Why are we looking at those 4?
So when we sat down, we looked at our 6 core sports, and then it became our 7. We looked at the components of muscular power, agility, and speed.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously with a certain element of muscular strength, but we don't test that just for safety purposes. But across our 7 cores, we looked at agility, speed, and muscular power, because that was the domain that most of them would have touched into, and that was the easiest way to test then using the software that we have.
Awesome. So what we're saying then, Mr. Clark, is basically if you can move quicker, you can turn faster, and you can jump higher, essentially, you're going to be a better athlete, right?
Well, yeah, if you break down all of our sports, there's an element of each of those three in every one of those sports.
Yeah, fantastic. And I suppose as well, you know, what you said earlier on about the fact that, you know, now this year, a bit daunting for you, sir, but we've gone up to 84 Mustang teams this year across the academy, which is a huge amount of teams taking place. Over 80 training sessions a week, which is unbelievable in terms of what the children get at our school. I suppose it would be really challenging to look at other components of fitness just based on the time constraints that we have.
Well, yeah, if you look at each of our sessions, we have roughly about 40 minutes every session, and within that you could have between 30 and 50 students.
Yeah.
So I mean, that if you're going to run a test for each of those students, you've got less than 1 minute per student.
Yeah.
So luckily enough, we've got the VALD software in, and it's really efficient in testing in those three elements.
Yeah.
And we could run through 120, 150 tests within that time frame for each of those sessions.
And that's the sports science equipment, isn't it, sir?
The sports science. So we've got the jump mat, we've got the speed gates, and then we've got the software that actually links it all together.
Awesome. And that you'd probably see that standard of provision at a professional sports organisation, right?
Well, yeah, there's no other school in Dubai or the world at the minute. I know there's a couple of universities over in America that use it, but there's no one at our level at the minute running the amount of tests, the specific tests for those sports, and then giving the feedback that we do to those kids.
Yeah, and I think that's the big thing really with the high performance team. What we've always wanted to do is if we're going to do it, it's got to be done well and it's got to be done right. So like, we don't just dip our toe. Mm-hmm. We very much are in. I think last year, one of the information I received from VALD, from the actual headquarters of VALD, was that we were the organisation that did the most tests annually last year, which is an incredible accomplishment.
Yeah, when you break it down, we looked at, obviously we work on terms, so we got 3 terms and we try to do 2 tests per term, one at the start to give our students a baseline and then one at the end of every term. So yeah, we've got 6 testing opportunities throughout the year. And I mean, if you're running through 8, 9, 1,000 tests each of those times, then there's not many institutions or universities or even schools.
What, 6,000 tests a year, circa, right?
Yeah.
So it's a hell of a lot of work and a lot of data we're gathering as well. And all that data is stored in TeamBuilder, right, Mr. Clark?
Yeah, so the students then have access to the TeamBuilder that we've had running for 3 years now. They input their scores, so to speak, and then it gives us nice data to work off, so it shows if what we're doing is correct or if what we're doing is not wasting time but we could be using it slightly more efficiently.
Yeah, nice.
And I think across those 3 components last year, I think 80 to 90% of the students made between 3 and 6% an increase.
Yeah, I mean, we'll be sharing a little bit of information tonight with our parents at the open evening, but I had a really good look at the data with Mr. Jackson this week, and what we're looking is that across power, speed and agility, you're basically looking anywhere between a 5 to 10% increase on average across all our children. So, you know, the reality is, if we look at that in simple terms, you know, across the year, our children can, on average, jump between 5 and 10% higher. They can run between 5 and 10% quicker, and they can stop and turn 5% quicker.
Yeah.
You know, 5 to 10% quicker. So the reality is, when you translate that to a football pitch or a tennis court or a netball court or a basketball court, what we're going to see is those little marginal gains, improvement in performance, which then complements what our coaches are doing on the court with them in developing their skills, right?
Yeah, it's all kind of done in the background because obviously the kids just see a number.
Yeah.
Whereas we can then show them the graph. I know that with our IAP students, we give out the graph so they can actually plot where they're going up and down. And I think it was really important for them last year to be able to see that, for example, when they went away over Christmas for that month, and the training might have dipped, which is understandable. They're not in school. There's a need for a bit of switch off. That they were coming back and they were slightly slower, or they were slightly less powerful, or their cardiovascular endurance had gone down, because I know we do some individualised tests for those IAP students. So they were coming back and being able to see, all right, the time off isn't actually benefiting me. So as long as we're looking at that long-term athlete development, so when they do leave our school, they know They know what works for them, they know what doesn't, and they know what to look out for.
Yeah, so I suppose really even going to be even more important this year with the fact that the winter break's 4 weeks long, right?
Yeah.
Our IEP athletes, by the way, our IEP athletes, they're our international and national level performance athletes, and they'll be sent away with plans over that 4 week period, and the Mustangs will have a 4 week plan as well that can be completed in a villa or can be completed in a stairwell. You know, what we're trying to do is acknowledge the fact that not everyone will have access to a gym in that period of time. So what the high performance team are going to do is send some information home, because it's not about training at your maximum all the time, because we need to allow ourselves body's time to recover, but it's about being able to, you know, maintain.
Yeah.
Right, and have something ticking along in the background, right? Because we can't go absolutely 100% all the time. We need to make sure that we're moderating that with rest and recovery, but then at the same time that what's really important is that we do have that maintenance in the background ticking along, right?
Yeah, all we want to do is when you're not in school is to maintain where we're at.
Yeah.
What we don't want is we don't want you to basically fall off the edge of the cliff, so to speak,
Yeah.
and then come back starting at square one. If we can just finish at a level and then just do enough to keep that level ticking,
Yeah.
then we can work from where we left off. Another thing you said was the 100%. We rarely get to 100% really.
Yeah.
In our S&C sessions, we kind of leave that to the game days.
Yeah.
But what we try and do is we just try and tap into the red zone, so to speak, and then ease off just with the progressive overload.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, we want to give, being in the red zone's uncomfortable, right?
Yeah.
And the only way you get comfortable with something is exposure to it more often, little and often.
Yeah.
So I'd say, Mr. Clark, certainly you putting the children in the red zone and then backing off, but doing that in repeated time is going to give our young people an idea of what it's like to really push yourself, but not push them too hard.
Well, yeah, at the end of the day, they are still children.
Yeah.
Yes, they're performing at a super high level for that age group, and we do appreciate that. So it's just giving them a taste of what it might be like at a professional club, or when they step into university or the bigger world, what is going to happen. And we can do that in a very controlled manner, and that's where the science comes in. Awesome.
Mr. Clark, we're going to wrap it up there, but thank you so much for coming in to the podcast and the radio show this morning. We really appreciate it. As always, guys, please make sure you drop us a follow on our Instagram on Metropole_Mustangs, and you'll see all the dates, information, and content on there. And we'll see you next week, where we will talk in a little bit more detail with Mr. Jackson about the IAP program that is due to launch. So thank you so much, everyone. Have a wonderful week ahead.
Thank you.